So we were talking a little bit about, just the different types of tea, but let's talk about the actual benefits of some of these different types of tea. Now, one of my favorites, chai tea, which is probably not in that classification of helpful. What is chai tea, by the way?
Actually, chai tea is very helpful.
Is it?
What's not helpful is the commercial products that put a ton of sugar in them. That's what's not helpful. But chai was derived as an Ayurvedic remedy. Ayurveda is the ancient healing system from India. It's probably as old as traditional Chinese medicine. And it's made up of a variety of different spices that can be very, very helpful in terms of metabolism and anti-inflammatory effects. And that's one of the reasons why it was created in Ayurveda. But now the westernized version is they put a ton of sugar in with it to sweeten it for the American palate, and that's what makes it not healthy. But the spices themselves are very healthy.
Very healthy.
But I don't believe it's true tea. I don't think there's any Camellia sinensis in it. So it fits into that tisane or category, which is not really tea. We call it tea. Just like we say peppermint tea or chamomile tea, but it's actually a misnomer. And the French have it right when they call it a tisane.
A tisane.
Yeah.
Although I do think that some chais have black tea as a base.
Maybe you're right about that.
Now, black tea, I've always thought that black tea was sort of on the not so good side of teas. No? It's good. Really?
Yeah.
So what are some of the teas? Say somebody has, tell me this. What can teas cure? Or at least aid in alleviating?
Yeah, we don't talk about cures. There's very few things that can cure
anything.
Teas are really wonderful in terms of being supportive in terms of your health and preventative. So if you look at different studies, people in China who drink a lot of green tea and people in Japan who drink a lot of green tea seem to have a lot of protection from cardiac issues. There's something that's called the Asian paradox. Like in Japan, they smoke more than we do, and yet they have a much lower incidence of cardiac incidents and lung cancer and things like that. And that seems to be attributed to the amount of green tea that they drink. So there's a protective effect that green tea has in terms of cancer and tumors, cardiac, cholesterol. There's a lot of those kinds of health benefits, anti-inflammatory effects. It really is tremendous in terms of the amount. And as I said, each week we're learning more and more from research of the health benefits. Seems to be a protective effect in terms of cognitive effects for Alzheimer's prevention.
Really?
Enzymes that break down certain chemicals in the body that have an impact with Alzheimer's are impacted by green tea. But it also depends on how much green tea you drink. And black tea, the different teas have the processing affects the antioxidants. So green and white tea are the most virgin, if you will, and have the most amount of the catechins, the EGCG, which is the primary catechin that's researched a lot of. And as you process it to oxidize it essentially for oolong and black tea, it changes it to a different type of flavonoids or polyphenols. So they all have health benefits, some a little different than others.
Okay. Can you drink too much tea?
I don't think that you can. One thing that really impressed me early on with the blog of TChing with John Weisberger, this NIH researcher. He's now in his 80s and he drinks 8 cups a day religiously. He told us a story that when he was a boy, older people, 80s and 90s, would pretty much go to sleep and they wouldn't wake up. They would die of old age. He said that's not happening in our culture anymore. Very rarely do you hear of an elderly person that just goes to
in their
sleep and doesn't
yeah.
wake up.
Yeah.
And he feels that if we improve our lifestyle, drink more tea, that we have the potential to go back to those days where our body is going to be functioning on a different level.
Really?
Yeah, so I feel really encouraged by that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what about these teas that people take for like diet?
The weight loss
weight
teas.
loss.
The weight loss teas. What is that about?
You know, I have mixed feelings about that, although Mehmet Oz had a show where he talked about if you substitute your morning coffee with tea, that you have the potential over a 3-month period of time of losing weight. That there are certain things that coffee does that stimulate certain things in your body that are detrimental to weight loss, and it kind of maintains weight. And that if you can make this shift, you do have a potential, not only because you're eliminating the coffee, but by adding the tea to, if you do nothing else, you could lose up to 10 pounds in 3 months.
Wow.
From what his show purported.
And part of it also, I think, is that people who drink coffee often add sugar.
I was just going to say, you know, the sugar and the cream and all the artificial coffee mates and things like that that people add in probably don't help.
No, not at all.
So,
Right.
And with tea, you don't generally add sugar or milk or whatever, although the British drink their black tea with milk and sugar.
okay.
But we encourage people to drink the green and white teas straight up and neat. There's no need, if you've brewed it properly, it's sweet, and there's no need to add anything to it.
So when we come back, we'll talk about their business and how they are educating others all about tea. So we'll be right back.
Coming up,
But when you go to a local tea shop and you buy whole leaf tea, there are a lot of benefits to that because you have the opportunity to re-steep that tea throughout the day.